Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made these two Godzilla 1998 figures, one being based off the movie and the other being based off the animated series design. Both very nostalgic designs to me, despite them not being very Godzilla-like, at least in the traditional sense. Still a design I grew up with and grew to really like as a kid, and even have some fondness for now. They're both made out of a polyurethane rubber, and if you remember, I actually already made these two before, but I was not very happy with how they turned out, especially the movie version. I was trying to do something unique and different and use silicone instead of the rubber, but it just wasn't working out. So instead, I decided to go back to the polyurethane rubber and also redo the animated version because I wasn't happy with the proportions on that either. So overall, this is a massive redo, and I think these turned out very well. So let's go ahead and cut right to the video. If you see my other videos, the process is exactly identical. I start off by making a wire armature, except this time I have to make sure that the armature can stand up very well, because unlike the traditional Godzilla design where he's more upright, this one leans forward like almost like a T-Rex. So I have to give him sturdy feet and also elongate the tail so that I could stand properly. So I sculpted, molded, and casted the movie version first, just to make sure I had the process nailed down, and when I pulled it out of the mold, it came out perfectly. I'll get more into the casting process later, but for now, just know that I did sculpt the movie version first, and it did take some extra time because there was a lot of detail, but then I started sculpting the animated version. I did shorten the tail because in the cartoon, the tail's not as long, but it did kind of hurt the stability. It couldn't lean forward like the movie version, which had a very long tail. But as you can see, I finished sculpting it. I prepared to make a mold. I have the little eyeballs in the socket so that I could do the little eyeball effect, and then I make the mold out of a silicone. I use plaster for the mother mold, and then I use the polyurethane rubber to cast it. I start by brushing on the rubber first to make a decent layer, and then I did a couple brush on castings just to make sure to also seal the mold so that there weren't any holes, and then I would pour the rubber in and basically do a slush cast where I would just kind of throw around the mold a little bit and make sure the rubber went everywhere. Once I pulled out the casting, I started the painting process, and for both versions I basically just did a dry brush. For the movie version, all I had to do was a light dry brushing, since I also dyed the rubbers to make sure that, you know, I got the two separation of colors. And then afterwards, for the underbelly, I dry brushed some blues as well as a cool gray. And for the rest of the body, I did yellows, Van Dyke brown, black for like certain scoots and armored plating scales. And just basically try to get in all that variation. Did a slight dry brush of cool gray just to bring out some of the details. And then for the mouth, I did some tans. I think I mixed together some pink and some tan, and then just basically painted it in there. And then I sculpted his dorsal spikes, painted them black to prime them, and then dry brushed some metallic blue to bring out the color. And then I just sprayed it with a layer of matte finish to make sure that the paint stayed on as best it could, at least. And that finishes the movie version. Then I went on to the animated version, which was overall more simplistic. Obviously, sculpting it was more simplistic. Painting it was even more simple. I painted it with a gray underbelly, and most of it, pretty much all of it, is casted out of a brown dye. And I just mainly painted the underbelly, but I did put some blacks on the rest of it. And then I made the dorsal plates and painted them a very light blue. And that was pretty much it. I matte finished it. And I also gave them resin eyeballs. comparison between the previous silicone casting and the new one, as well as here's the old one that I made for the channel a little while ago. And as you can see, I mean, just huge improvement. I'm very proud of these. And here's a comparison between the old and new animated Godzilla that I made. So that about wraps it up. I'm very proud of these two. I mean, the amount of detail I was able to put on the movie as well as the accuracy for both. I don't know, y'all tell me, but I feel really happy about how these turned out. I think these are some of my best works. And I'm also really happy with certain details like the eyeballs that I was able to make for both. Obviously, the animated version is much more simplistic, but the resin eyeball that I was able to make for the movie version, I just feel really proud of because it almost looks like a real eyeball. Though obviously it has some issues, like it got a little cloudy, but even so, I mean, the paint work, the sculpting, just all the little details and stuff, I'm just very happy with how this came out. And I hope y'all enjoy it too. So be sure to check out my Instagram page. I'm going to post these guys on there, as well as some extra stuff that I didn't make videos for, but you can enjoy them on my Instagram. So again, be sure to check that out. And yeah, that's going to be geo_sculpts. And again, thank you for watching the video. I hope you have a great day.